Welcome to the Untold Stories. Today we're diving into the grim reality of John Gotti's life inside the notorious United States Penitentiary Marion. Imagine spending 23.5 hours a day in a tiny cell, facing brutal conditions and severe medical neglect. How did the infamous mob boss endure such harsh treatment, and what were his final days like? From his battles with cancer to shocking incidents of violence, Gotti's story is one of resilience and tragedy. But before we jump into that, please like, share, and subscribe to my channel, The Untold Stories, for more fascinating insights. Our topic today: inside John Gotti's horrible life in his supermax prison. In the heart of Illinois stood the United States Penitentiary Marion, a tough and secure prison built in 1963 to replace Alcatraz. Known for holding the hardest criminals, it faced a tragedy in 1983 when 2 guards were killed, causing the prison to go into permanent lockdown. Inmates were stuck in their cells almost all day with very little human contact. The prison was criticized for its harsh treatment of prisoners by groups like Amnesty International. There was another danger: the water from Crab Orchard Lake was contaminated with harmful chemicals called PCBs, known to cause cancer. This threat was known but ignored. Among those affected was the famous mob boss John Gotti, who developed cancer while in Marion. Medical care was poor, and living conditions were tough. In his small cell, Gotti had no chair, just a cot, a basin, and a toilet. He spent most of his day in his cell, using his mattress as a makeshift chair. Although most inmates with life sentences were moved after 30 months, Gotti stayed in Marion for over 3 years, facing worsening conditions. The prison's reputation was stained by stories of violence and neglect. The Johnson incident and harsh realities of life behind bars. From the moment John Gotti arrived at Marion, whispers of his name echoed through the cell blocks. Inmates admired him, seeing him as a celebrity, and offered their loyalty. However, this admiration was challenged by Walter Johnson, a man known for his explosive temper. In a narrow walkway, tensions rose, and Gotti insulted Johnson, sparking a violent fight. Johnson's rage led to a brutal beating, leaving Gotti bloodied and bruised. Despite his injuries, Gotti downplayed the incident, claiming he had slipped and fallen. The other inmates, valuing their own survival, chose not to intervene. Gotti reflected on the harsh realities of prison life. Marion Prison, a fortress of confinement, kept inmates isolated for 23.5 hours a day. Contact visits and phone calls were limited. Basic dental care was a luxury, and despite warnings from his dentist, Gotti received none. His gums suffered from disease, and he resorted to pulling out his own implants to ease the pain. Desperate, he used garlic on his wounds for relief. The prison's neglect worsened his health, and even when his cancer reached stage 4, proper medical care was delayed. Despite the brutal conditions at Marion, Gotti's spirit remained unbroken. His defiance in the face of neglect showed his resilience. Years of untreated gum disease had ravaged his jaw, leading to a severe infection that required part of it to be replaced with titanium. Even after this drastic procedure, he was left without dentures for over a year, forced to eat with bare gums. Letters from his family and legal representatives painted a grim picture of his plight, as their repeated pleas for proper dental care were ignored. As Gotti's health deteriorated, his cries for medical attention went unanswered. It wasn't until his cancer reached stage 4 that he was finally diagnosed, a delay that cost him precious time. The Bureau of Prisons tried to blame his cancer on alcohol and tobacco use, but Gotti had quit both before his imprisonment. The real cause was untreated gum infections. Marion's toxic environment, including contaminated water, further worsened his health. With his commissary privileges revoked, he had no choice but to drink from the tainted tap. Reports from the John Howard Association and Amnesty International shed light on Marion's harsh conditions and human rights violations. Despite his low security risk, Gotti remained in harsh confinement, facing severe medical neglect. Even in his final days, the vindictive actions of Warden Bill Hedry led to increased restrictions on his interactions with family, stripping away the little solace he had. Efforts to seek justice for Gotti's mistreatment were met with resistance. His pride and refusal to seek retribution stood as a testament to his character, even in the face of injustice. His family, led by Peter Gotti, appealed for compassionate treatment from the highest authorities, writing letters to Attorney General Janet Reno and human rights organizations like Amnesty International. Their pleas highlighted the harsh and unjust treatment Gotti endured, contrasting it with the treatment of other inmates in similar circumstances. In his twilight years, Gotti's family remained committed to seeking justice for him. Their appeals to Amnesty International underscored the urgency of his situation and the dire need for intervention. The family's unwavering support and dedication to their patriarch stood as a testament to their love and determination to see justice served, even in the face of overwhelming odds. John Gotti's final struggles. John Gotti faced a series of harrowing medical emergencies within the prison walls, each testing his physical endurance and his family's resolve. The first major crisis was a severe medical emergency involving a blood clot and heart ailments. Prison authorities provided little information, leaving his family in distress. When Peter Gotti rushed to his brother's hospital bed, he found it guarded heavily, raising questions about the necessity of such security for a terminally ill patient. Despite these challenges, Gotti's resilience remained unwavering. In October 2001, another crisis struck when he collapsed in his cell, hemorrhaging from a neck wound. Despite efforts by Springfield Medical Prison, they admitted their inability to treat his condition adequately. Gotti's health continued to deteriorate, his once perfect penmanship reflecting his decline. But even amidst despair, he remained defiant. In December 2001, the Gotti family's holiday visit turned distressing as they saw Gotti coughing up blood and tissue, with a 9-inch bandage covering his wounds. By January 2002, his condition worsened, leading Peter to stay with him in Springfield for 3 weeks. Gotti's voice was silenced by tumors, leaving him unable to swallow without water seeping from his neck wound. March brought unbearable pain as John Gotti spent most visits coughing up blood or having nurses suction mucus from his tracheotomy tube. Yet, he maintained his sense of humor, joking with the nurses. By April, his condition had deteriorated further, and media speculation about his impending death added to the family's anguish. On Easter Eve, Victoria Gotti, his wife, bid her final farewell, with Gotti's wish for only Peter to be present for his passing. In May, Gotti slipped into a medically induced coma. Plans were made for Peter to be notified first upon Gotti's passing, with all tapes and notes turned over to him. Concerns about Gotti's medical care and private visits with his family remained unanswered by Attorney General John Ashcroft, leaving the family feeling abandoned. When John Gotti Jr. rushed to view his father's body, he faced bureaucratic red tape and denial. Despite his protests, an autopsy was conducted against his wishes. Missouri state law required embalming before a body could leave, leading to further anguish as his father's body was displayed in a government-issued suit and casket. On June 12th, Gotti Jr. arranged for his father's body to be transported to New York, trying to avoid media attention. However, the cabin of the jet was too small for the casket, forcing him to endure the indignity of media photographers laughing as they captured the moment. The Catholic Diocese of Brooklyn denied a requiem mass, allowing only a memorial mass after the burial. Gotti's funeral took place in a non-church facility, departing from traditional Catholic rites. Despite this, around 300 onlookers gathered to witness the procession, which passed by Gotti's beloved Bergen Hunt and Fish Club. He was laid to rest next to his son Frank, bringing closure to their family. The absence of representatives from other New York City families spoke volumes, marking a repudiation of Gotti's leadership and legacy. In the end, John Gotti's life was a powerful narrative of crime and fame in America. From humble South Bronx roots, he ascended to infamy as the Teflon Don, captivating the public with his defiance of the law. Despite his 1992 conviction, Gotti's legacy endures in books, films, and TV shows, showcasing his resilience and controversy. Share your thoughts on Gotti's journey, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the Untold Stories.